Hey everyone, and welcome back to Wishbone Football. I am Chad, and welcome into episode 7, 1.07, the Draft Look Back Part 2. This week we are diving into the drafts from 2013 to 2019 in our lead up to the first round of the 2026 draft, which is 1 week tonight in Pittsburgh. We have actually seen a bunch of renderings with respect to what their logo is going to look like this year for 2026 for the NFL draft. I really have to say it's a lot cooler. What they're doing now is essentially changing the logo each year to make it look like the city that they are going to be doing the draft out of. And so this year, as we know, it's in Pittsburgh. And so it does have some cool colors associated with Pittsburgh in it. And I like it a lot. One thing that I'm going to be doing on both Twitter and Instagram over the next week in this run-up is I'm actually going to be doing full posts of each of the NFL's logos for each year. I'm going to go from, I believe, 1998 right up until 2026. And I'm going to start that tomorrow. Today is Thursday, April the 16th. And so I'm going to start that tomorrow. So I'm going to be doing 28 over 7 days. So we should be putting out about 3 a day, if I can do math. We had, jumping into the 2013 draft, we had a bit of a funny draft in where 5 of the top 10 picks were offensive linemen. And you don't see a whole lot of that. I think it just sort of speaks to me about the quality of the draft that it was. It really was not a highly talented group. And I think we kind of see that when we have 5 offensive linemen going in the first 10 picks. I think that just sort of speaks for itself. And we kick things off with the first overall pick, tackle Eric Fisher, who went to the Kansas City Chiefs. He was obviously out of Central Michigan in the MAC. The 4th overall pick was Lane Johnson, who went to the Eagles out of Oklahoma. The Bills selected E.J. Manuel with the 16th pick after trading down with the St. Louis Rams. E.J. Manuel is actually the first QB taken in 2013 and the only QB taken in the first round. And when you are drafting a QB in the first round, and he's the only QB taken in the first round in a year, that says a lot. Because even as we progress forward in some of these other drafts that we get into, specifically 2019, if people are always trying to take any sort of a quarterback, if there's any sort of hope for any skill, i.e. Kyler Murray. Now, DeAndre Hopkins was taken with the 27th pick, ultimately going to the Houston Texans. Cordell Patterson was taken 29th by the Minnesota Vikings. Geno Smith was drafted to the Jets in the second round, along with Zach Ertz and Darius Slay. The third round was fruitful with Travis Kelce, Tyrann Mathieu, and Terron Armstead going in the third round. The best fullback in the league was drafted in the fourth round in this year, and that is Kyle Juszczyk. In 2014, it was the year of the elite defensive players. The first overall pick in 2014 was Jadeveon Clowney, who went to the Texans. The Bills traded up from 9th to the 4th pick to select Sammy Watkins. Unfortunately, right behind him, the Oakland Raiders selected Khalil Mack out of Buffalo. Yeah, UB getting some love. The Buccaneers selected Mike Evans with the 7th overall pick. The Giants selected Odell Beckham with the 12th pick. Aaron Donald was drafted to the St. Louis Rams in the first round as well. The last pick of the first round in 2014 was Teddy Bridgewater. Devontae Adams, Derek Carr, and DeMarcus Lawrence were all taken in the second round of 2014. Now, in 2015, this was the 50th anniversary for the Super Bowl. So we got a great NFL draft logo that was gold and black and absolutely looked phenomenal. And you'll see this on my Twitter and Instagram pages over the next week. 2015, unfortunately, was not a great draft. Amari Cooper went to the Oakland Raiders, 4th overall out of Alabama. Todd Gurley from Georgia went to the St. Louis Rams. Denzel Perryman was taken 48th overall in the second round. Danielle Hunter went to the Vikings in the third round. And finally, Stephon Diggs was selected in the 5th round out of Maryland. There are a few others that we could have mentioned in the 2015 draft, but there was not a whole lot. Marcus Peters went to the Chiefs in the first round. Melvin Gordon. There was no heavy hitters. There was no elite talent in 2015 at all. So we will move on to 2016. In 2016, this was mentioned on episode 4 of the podcast, Wishbone Football, where we had the LA Rams trading up to get Jared Goff, 1st overall. The Eagles traded up to 2 to get Carson Wentz. At the 3rd pick, the Chargers took Joey Bosa. Jalen Ramsey went 5th to the Jags. The Dolphins selected Laramie Tunsil with the 13th pick. And moving into the second round, we had Derrick Henry. Um, Again, a lot like 2014, a lot like 2014, or I'm sorry, 2015, 2016 just wasn't a lot there. Michael Thomas was in the second round. Uh, Yannick Nago was in the third round. Joe Tooney was in the third round. Just a lot of mid guys throughout this draft. But in the fifth round, we did have Tyreek Hill going to the Chiefs. 2017 was an extremely top-heavy beast of a draft. And I think we all know why. 2017 was Myles Garrett, a difference maker, and just an incredible player out of Texas A&M. And it hurts me to say that. The Bears selected Mitchell Trubisky. The Carolina Panthers selected Christian McCaffrey, 8th overall. The Chiefs. The Chiefs. The Bills traded down with the Chiefs, where the Chiefs selected Patrick Mahomes 10th. So the Bills originally had the 10th pick, and they ended up trading down, allowing the Kansas City Chiefs to pick Patrick Mahomes. The Steelers got TJ Watt at the 30th pick. And if you think about that in other years, that is a steal at 30. Because, like, let me run through some of the guys that were selected ahead of TJ Watt. And, like, he is a down linebacker, right? So he is a true linebacker that is playing a hard on-ball edge. And, like, there are many guys ahead of him that anyone would have taken looking back at it now. Deshaun Watson going to the Texans. Hassan Reddick, who I really liked him a lot. He was out of Temple, and I liked him a lot. But, like, after seeing what TJ Watt has put up over his career, it's been incredible. The pick before TJ Watt, the Browns selected David Njoku. Don't get me wrong, excellent tight end, but if you look back at it now, you're taking TJ Watt. My Bills selected 27th that year and took Trey White. That was an excellent pick for them, even though it meant that the Chiefs got Patrick Mahomes. The Alvin Kamara was selected in the third round, along with Cooper Kupp. Trey Hendrickson was taken in the third round as well as a compensatory pick out of Florida Atlantic. And in the fifth round, George Kittle from Iowa, and the Bills took Matt Milano out of Boston College. In 2018, we had a very, very exciting draft night. And it's not just because I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. So let me set the scene for you here. We have Cleveland Browns selecting first overall, obviously, as they did on a lot of different nights. The Bills had 2 first-round draft picks. one one coming from Cincinnati, and the other one is the one that they had. So let's get there. First overall pick was Baker Mayfield, coming out of Oklahoma, and he went to the Browns. Excellent pick. When you look back at it, Baker Mayfield was the correct pick for the Cleveland Browns to make. Unfortunately, he was a late bloomer. And it was it the Browns? Was it organizationally why they couldn't get Baker Mayfield to work? Same could be said with the third overall pick in 2018. Sam Darnold, Super Bowl winning quarterback. The New York Jets selected him. And again, is that just speaking more to the organization as a whole? That they did not have the pieces in place to be drafting a quarterback first overall. And you can't fault organizations for not being ready. Because maybe the coaching cycle isn't the greatest that year. And maybe you don't have the offensive coordinator you want to be selecting a quarterback. But sometimes you can't wait. Sometimes you can't wait for all of those things to come together for you to be looking at the draft, wanting to select a quarterback first overall, or even in the first round. So the Browns actually did a funny thing. Like I said, Baker Mayfield, first overall. They actually traded back up to the fourth pick in 2018, taking Denzel Ward, which was a crazy jump. I mean, yeah, Denzel Ward has been very good for them. But, I mean, was someone else looking to get up there and make that selection? Fifth overall, Bradley Chubb. Sixth overall, Quentin Nelson. And finally, the Buffalo Bills traded up to the seventh pick, selecting Josh Allen. And honestly, I wasn't sold. I wanted Josh Rosen. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, hindsight is 20/20, but Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming. That's not a strong school that you're getting drafted from. Where Josh Rosen was coming out of UCLA, who had a strong program there. I mean, I can't be upset because the Bills ultimately did make the right call, but I was not sold the night of the draft. Josh Rosen did go on to get drafted 10th overall to the Arizona Cardinals. And just remember the Arizona Cardinals. They come back up here very, very shortly. The 11th pick was Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Miami Dolphins. And then we got two absolute defensive monsters with the 12th and 13th pick. 12th was Vita Vea going to Tampa Bay, and then the Redskins taking Darren Payne out of Alabama. Like I said, the Bills did have 2 first-round draft picks. So their second with the 16th pick, they took Tremaine Edmonds out of Virginia. Really liked him a lot. He was someone I liked a lot, and I was a little bit upset to see him walk and ultimately go on to the Chicago Bears. The last pick in the first round was Lamar Jackson, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. And really, that's all I want to mention for 2018. Mark Andrews went in the third round. There was not a lot of depth to this draft at all. You were selecting in the first round, and that's it. So finally, we have made it. 2019. 2019 gives me the same vibes as 2026 does as we get closer to that draft. It's not very deep. There is going to be some talent there, but I think 2026 is ultimately going to be a reach draft, meaning that some teams are going to reach to draft who they think is going to be a difference maker that may not be. So in 2019, the Arizona Cardinals selected Kyler Murray, first overall. And this is 1 year removed. 1 year removed from 2018 when they are taking Josh Rosen in the first round. Think about that. We give the Cleveland Browns such a hard time about being just this carousel of quarterback play. Everyone's seen that famous Browns jersey with every QB on it since 1999. But like the Arizona Cardinals selected 2 quarterbacks in back-to-back drafts with their first pick. One going 10th, one going first. That is laughable. Especially with how Kyler Murray has worked out for that organization over the last 5 years. The second overall pick to the 49ers was Nick Bosa. The third was Quinnen Williams to the Jets. Dexter Lawrence was ultimately taken 17th. Josh Jacobs went to the Raiders at 24. Montez Sweat went to the Redskins at 26. Deebo Samuel went to the 49ers with the second in the second round, along with A.J. Brown going to the Titans. Mecole Hardman went to the Chiefs in the second round. And the last pick of the second round was DJ Metcalf to the Seahawks. And finally, the last pick that I want to mention in 2019 draft was the fourth round. And that was Max Crosby. Went to the Oakland Raiders, coming out of Eastern Michigan in the fine conference of the MAC. Now, one other guy I'm going to slide in here real quick because I see him sitting here is C.J. Gardner-Johnson. he's actually a Buffalo Bill as of this year, 28, and he is out of Florida. I'm very excited to see him and what he is able to do for my Buffalo Bills starting in 2026. Now, like I mentioned, with what I'm going to be doing on both Twitter and my Instagram page with the NFL logos, because I think it's worth it to take a dive into it, because they are so unique for a number of years. They get absolutely terrible and look the exact same for about 10. But it's been the last 10 years where they're taking this on the road now. They're taking the draft on the road to different cities, and the NFL is just realizing what more they can be doing with this, which is great. So I'm going to be rolling that out. Like I said, I'm going to be going back to about 1998 is really when it starts, when it's good. And then we are slowly making our way over the next week to the eventual 2026 draft and what that logo looks like, which is really cool. I really have to say, the last few years have been really good. So what my plan is with the draft coming up next week is I am going to be doing a draft preview show on Wednesday. I expect this to sort of be a diving board and a launch pad into the draft on Thursday night. And I won't be doing a show on Thursday like I have been. So my preview show for the draft is going to be Wednesday. And then I would like to put out a show either Friday night or next weekend to kind of go over what happened, mainly in the first round. I mean, I know that the talent for this draft is really going to be in the first 60 or 90 picks, and then it's going to taper off. So I may actually wait until Saturday or next Sunday to do the draft recap show, only because I think I might want to include the second and the third round and comp picks in the third round, just to get it all cleaned up. And then more than likely the following week will be a full recap of all 7 rounds and all 32 teams, sort of trying to understand if every team got what they needed out of the draft, as silly as that sounds. Because there's clearly going to be needs that teams have going into this thing, and then trying to decipher, are they drafting for need or are they just taking the best available player? And there's an argument for both, but drafting for need can ultimately get you in trouble, because that's sometimes not the best way to do it. So like I said, that will be up on Wednesday as a preview, and then that will get us ready for the first round of the NFL draft on Thursday night, which I'm very excited for. So, like I said, make sure that you're following me on Twitter and Instagram. My Twitter is at WishboneFB. My Instagram is WishboneChad. And follow along. Please reach out. Ask questions. I feel free to reach out because I want this to be a conversation as much as anything. You guys know I love putting these together, and I will continue to do that. But reach out, ask questions. I'm here to talk to. I am not just a bot sitting here putting these out and not wanting to talk to everyone and get to know more people through this. So, like I said, this is episode 1.07, the draft look back part 2. I really want to thank you guys for giving me a listen and maybe continuing to come back and listen to me each week. So, like I said, I am Chad, and this is Wishbone Football. Thank you.